Hi, everybody. I'd like to start out by welcoming all of our students and parents, as well as if there's any staff members that have decided to join us today. And I would like to go ahead and start by also giving you kind of a quick walkthrough of what we're going to be discussing today. We will be starting out with having our each of our areas give kind of some general updates. And then we will open everything up to general questions from everybody. If you do have a question that you've got right now, please go ahead and add it to our question and answer box, which can be found at the bottom of your screen. And we will start answering those as we get those into the queue. And thank you all for joining us. So for all of our panelists that we have here today, so representing from Housing and Residence Life, today we have Dee Dee Knickerberg, who is the Director of Housing and Residence Life, Corey Ray, who is the Associate Director of Housing and Residence Life, Jennifer Skinner, who is the Customer Relations Manager, Renee Scow, who is the Assistant Director for Leadership Development and Community Standards, Lauren Smith, who is the Customer Service Representative. She will be typing answers to you all in the chat box. And then we've got John Kosh, who is the Marketing Director of Auxiliary Services.
Hello, everyone.
We also have from Vandals Dining, we have Brianna Musella, as well as George Hewlett. Brianna is the Marketing Specialist, and George is the General Manager for Vandals Dining.
Hey, everyone.
Okay. So why don't we go ahead and we're going to move into our housing general updates. Jen, would you like to talk about kind of some of the things to expect?
Yes, as soon as I unmute myself, I would love to. So first of all, welcome. We're so excited that you all are here tonight, and we're thrilled that you will be joining us this fall on campus. As we all know, it's going to look a little bit different, and we'll share some of that with you this evening. But number one to us is that we love our students, and we're super happy that you're coming back to join us on campus, and look forward to a great fall. So with that being said, move-in. Move-in is a big question right now, and move-in during the times that we're working through social distancing and how do we not have so many people in one spot brought us around to knowing we needed to expand our move-in days. So this fall, we actually are going to start moving on Wednesday, August 19th for our first year or new students to campus. So if you're coming for Vandal Welcome and you have not been on our campus previously, then you'll want to make sure that you sign up for either a Wednesday or a Thursday time slot. That will be important for you. Those move-in time slots will go live on July 6th, and you will be able to access them from our website. We'll be sharing out the link with all of you via email, social media, things like that as we get a little bit closer. But July 6th is the date. Mark your calendars. That's when you can log into that system and start picking your move-in time slots. For students who are returning to live with us or returning to campus, we are asking that you wait and sign up for a Friday, Saturday, or Sunday time slot for move-in. We do need to make sure that everyone is spaced out as much as possible. So we are asking for your help to do that. Nick, was there another specific move-in sort of topic you wanted me to address?
No, I think that covers it. Okay, so why don't we go ahead and now we'll move on to Residence Life with Corey and Renee.
Hello, everyone. So you can imagine with the changes that are happening in our country and our communities, we're going to have some changes within the resident halls too, which means we're all going to have to work together on making sure that we're keeping each other safe while we get through this. So one of the things the university has done is they're moving forward with a new policy where face coverings will be required in indoor settings. So whether it's in a small, a classroom size, and they'll be announcing what the classroom sizes will be, So while you're in class, you'll be required to have a face mask when you're in the hallways and so forth of each academic building. And that includes also the housing buildings. And so what coming to and from your private room, you'll be asked to wear a face mask. Again, it's a university policy, and it's just good practice. And then, of course, we would hope that as you visit our downtown area and community, you'll have those face masks as well. But it is something that'll be new, something that a lot of us have been having to get used to over the last few months. Also, we will have policy changes coming up to address some of the issues. So our guest policy will be changing. We'll be limiting the number of guests. We're specifically restricting to your buildings as far as having guests until such time as we're able to loosen up the restrictions. We work with the university and public health on those restrictions. So that's something to be different. Kitchens will still be used, still have access to kitchens, but one of the changes there will be social distancing, and you'll be asked to clean up after yourself right away. And unfortunately, we won't be able to leave all your belongings sitting on the counters and stuff because, again, we're trying to practice safe behaviors. And so those will need to be kept in your room. So those are just some of the things that will be changing as we go. Please stay tuned to the housing website. We're always updating the Resident Hall Handbook, and that's where you'll find a lot of these policies. But the university is also sending out messaging when it comes to kind of the culture on campus and how it's changing. So again, like the face masks. But we are pleased that you are coming, and we've done a lot of planning on the social side as far as our programming and events to make this as enjoyable as possible. And although a lot of the large traditions that you may have heard about, like Paint the Palouse and Tower Trick or Treat, those are still a go. We're still moving forward. We're just going to do it a bit differently and being able to participate, but do it safely.
Awesome. Thank you, Corey. Okay, and now we'll move into any general updates from Vandals Dining.
Hi, everyone. Well, as Nick already said, my name is Brianna, and I am the marketing specialist for Vandals Dining. And I just want to say again that we are all so happy to have you guys be a part of the Vandals family. We're so very excited to share in what we're sure is going to be a wonderful college experience here for you at I. So I'm just going to take a second to address some major changes that are going to be happening. Obviously, in your personal life as well, there are many changes that are going on, but I want to reassure you that everyone here at Vandals Dining is here to support you every step of the way, because no matter who you are, how you eat, you have a place here with us and at the University of Idaho. So just a few things to go over that you will expect to see, and they'll be a little bit different than what you're used to when you arrive. So obviously first, the safety and well-being of our Vandal family is our top priority. So because of this, we'll be following all of our CDC and state mandated health and wellness guidelines. And this does include the practicing of our favorite new phrase now, social distancing. So we'll be implementing that by making sure that all of our tables in our dining area are placed 6 feet apart with no more than 6 persons to a table. So upon entering the dining hall, we'll have color-coded social distancing floor and wall signage to help everyone maintain their distancing. And the policy will apply to both guests and frontline team members to be sure that we're implementing that on all facets. So contactless service between guests and staff will also be in effect. So for example, your staff will place all of the necessary service items like plates or bowls or silverware on a designated area for you, for your guests or whoever to then handle themselves. So you won't need to have any hand-to-hand contact. We'll have enhanced sanitization of all areas that will be implemented every 30 minutes, regardless of use. So that's in the service area as well in the dining area. Guests, again, are encouraged to utilize our touchless hand sanitizer stations that will be placed at the entryway and around the service area. And we will be encouraging the use of face masks as well. We are a part of the university, so while you dine with us, that is another safety procedure we would like for you to follow. Our staff as well, just to avoid any needless contact, will be using gloves and masks when they're dealing with any of our guests to ensure that no outside contact has occurred with food or other items. So as far as service style, I know that this is a huge question. And at this time, we are removing all self-serve models, such as our salad bar, but they will be replaced with all staff-served options, as well as an added and enhanced prepackaged grab-and-go station, which will not only minimize all of that contact, but it will give students and guests the opportunity to take their meal with them while they're on the go, if that implemented social distancing line isn't something that we can spend the time on in between classes. And we do understand that many students have certain dietary restrictions and needs that they must follow. And like always, each meal period will provide not only a mindful and nutritious option, but an option free of the top 8 allergens for any of our guests with specialty dietary restrictions. And that offering will be at our simple serving station. But however, if you feel like these needs aren't met through our regular menu rotation, please feel free to reach out to us and we'll be happy to accommodate any of your needs. There is a dietary restriction form that you can fill out on our designated webpage of the university's website. And what that does is really it allows us to better understand your needs and work with you on a personal level to make sure that you're receiving all of the necessary attention that you need for your dietary restrictions. And we do have a growing partnership with Link. They're a worker and food hub based out of Spokane that allows us to partner with and source with local growers within a 200-mile radius of the university. So we're going to be sure that we're still implementing as many food items as possible in our meals during the growing season. And then with these new restrictions with COVID-19, we're still sourcing locally to really support business in the area. And don't worry, just in case your parents are nervous, all of our dining guests will be able to adopt an all-you-care-to-eat style of dining. And that means that no guest will be turned away from getting any additional food items that they may need regardless of seating restrictions. And speaking of that, that also means that we are not going to limit the time of any guest's meal period. However, due to in-house seating arrangements, like I said before, mandated by social distancing, we are going to ask our guests to be a little cognizant of the time spent in the dining hall just to allow for as many guests as possible the opportunity to dine in-house with us. And while we may experience max capacity at some peak times like lunch and in between classes in our lounge and seating area, no guest will ever be turned away from the opportunity to dine with us. And that's why we're really creating that expansive grab and go option and variety station so that they can take their meal with them. And then one other question that I know has been brought up is because of all of our new grab and go options. That does mean that we will have more disposable single-use packaging, but we are sure that everything will be biodegradable and compostable so that we can continue to sustain our low ecological footprint. And then I do know that we are in the early stages of possibly allowing your meal swipes to be utilized at other locations on campus. The specifics on that are still in discussion, but our goal is really to provide you with many options as possible given our new parameters. And we're working on implementing an online grocery style hub pickup at all of our convenience store locations, as well as personalized hygiene boxes in partnership with P&G. So that's something new and exciting to look forward to in case you want to be sending care packages from home, or if you want to really avoid the contact with others, you can pre-order all of those items that you can keep with you in your dorm if they're just snacking and on the go. And we want to make sure that we're really implementing and emphasizing contactless ordering and pickup. So we've recently rolled out Grubhub online ordering for all of our retail locations that will open in the fall. I know how everyone's so excited about Chick-fil-A, so don't worry, it'll be back. You'll get your fries. So any questions? Anything else?
Hey, thank you. George, do you have anything to add? Oh. You're muted, George.
I think Brianna answered everything very well. Again, I think our primary responsibility is to make sure our guests are safe and that we create an environment for that, as well as still meeting their needs. So that's, if you have any challenges, just reach out to us as you join the campus, and we'll be out there to adapt and make those changes if there's anything you need from us.
Thank you. Okay, before we start answering the questions, I would like to see if Dee Dee has anything she would like to address with the entire group.
Great. Well, good evening from Palouse Country. We are so excited for the opportunity to spend some time with everyone tonight. Our team, along with our Vandals dining partners, have been working diligently preparing for your arrival in the fall. We're looking forward to this connection this evening and being able to answer your questions and provide resource information. It's probably also a good opportunity for me to talk through and just give you some general ideas. I know a lot of questions are, why did we choose to do what we're doing in terms of occupancy at the University of Idaho? I want to let folks on this call understand that we did this in consultation with the North Central Health District, university officials, looking to our national association, the American College Health Association guidelines. So it's been a combination of factors. And I keep saying there is no guidebook for this for any of us nationally in the collegiate housing industry, and that is true. We are all trying to do the best that we can to mitigate the risks that come with being open for the fall. And I'm confident that we are doing our diligence in terms of connecting with all the right partners at the university. And of course, our partners at the North Central Health District who we've had several meetings with. And so there's some questions on the chat, I realize, in the Q&A about the difference in what we're doing. And again, the general guidance is really about the restroom facilities, and the restroom facilities that are common in nature have a higher risk. And so what we're trying to do is mitigate that risk by putting less people in a building where there are common restrooms. In that particular area. It's a building that can house up to 425-ish students. And so we're making the choice to lessen that impact, to increase our cleaning. Campus Facilities is in charge of that, and we've been working with them to recommend some modeling in terms of the increased cleaning, hiring a sanitation group that will do nothing but touch high surfaces in our residence halls, doorknobs, handrails, common area spaces, and allow the full-time custodial specialists to do their normal job that they do for us every single day. So I'm confident that we have a plan in place that will help mitigate any risks for students who are returning to campus. We want your experience to be as close to, as they say, normal as possible. But again, we do have changes and cautionary things that will be different than what would have happened, several years ago. But we really are about caring, and we really are about safety. And those are the things that we really approach all our decision making with, is safety first, and an ethic of care in combination with that, because that's why we do what we do. That's why we work in the housing industry and the housing profession. And that's why we serve at the University of Idaho, is because we care. And we really want to make a difference in the lives of students and help support all the students out there that are on the call to be successful and graduate from this great university.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Dee Dee. Okay, so why don't we go ahead and start answering some of the questions here that we have going through the chat. If you do have a question, please feel free to type it and we will address them in the order. And then we've also got Lauren, who is answering some of them by typing the answers to you, depending on your question. So the first question I've got is for Jen. Jen, how are underclassmen or first-year students going to choose their move-in dates? We've got somebody in the LLCs and they're not sure when they're supposed to move in yet.
Okay. Oh, 1 second here. So I wanted to make sure I wasn't muted. I was reading other questions. I apologize all. So yeah, move-in for our first-year student population, or anyone who is new to our university. So if it's your first year coming to the University of Idaho, we will consider you a first-year student for housing purposes for move-in. So again, that sign up for our, we're doing move-in time slots. You do have to sign up for your move-in time slot. That system will go live on July 6th. So first-year students will be able to choose from either Wednesday, the 19th of August, or Thursday, the 20th of August for their move-in time slots. More information will come to your Vandal email, so it's really important that you're checking that Vandal email. That's how all of the university official communication comes to you. So be checking that often. I know it's hard to be patient. We are getting everything done as quickly as we possibly can. There's been a lot of changes for this fall, and we know how that is impacting all of you, just like it's impacting us. So thank you for your patience, but you will be able to sign up online, and it will be for either Wednesday or Thursday, August 19th or August 20th.
And Jen, on that same note, we've got a couple of other students that have asked, what will move-in be like for band or other students who need to move in early, and for everybody overall?
Those are great questions about early arrival. So your programs actually work directly with us. Spencer Martin from Marching Band is one of my favorite people. We work together very closely on the Marching Band early arrival. I've seen several of you asking specifically about that program, so we'll talk about that a little bit. He has reached out to us. We are still planning to do early arrivals for your group. He will provide you with what you need to do, and then Spencer will send us a list of those who are authorized to move in as part of Marching Band. I do believe that that will still happen on Wednesday. It'll be later in the day, so late afternoon, early evening time frame. But Spencer will be your point of contact on the specifics. He coordinates all of that on that end. But on our end, he gives us a list and we say, yes, we can do that.
Okay. And one more question about move-in. Will there be people helping with move-in like last year?
Oh, gosh, we love move-in, right? We love our volunteers. But as Dee Dee mentioned, safety is our very top priority. We will have a very select number of volunteers, and their jobs at move-in will be directional. They will be giving you directions to different buildings or guiding you through what you need to do on move-in day, but we will not be having volunteers who will help actually move your belongings into your rooms. There is a way too high of a risk if people are touching your belongings and kind of helping to do that. So this year we are not going to be having volunteers in quite the same way as we have in the past. We hope to go back to full volunteers by next fall.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much, Jen. And now I've got a question on face coverings. Renee, do you want to answer this one about face coverings? So are face masks still required for those with medical conditions that prevent a student from being able to wear one?
Yeah, so first, my name is Renee Scow. As Nick mentioned, I use she, her pronouns. In terms of face coverings, if you do need an accommodation for that, we ask that you work with the CDAR office at the university, which is our Disability Services Office, and they will work with you to determine how best to serve you on campus, both in our residence hall environment, but then also across campus for your classes. If you're taking high flex classes or classes that are meeting in person, labs, anything along those lines, they would be able to work with you from CDAR to determine what would work best for you. And then they also let us know if there are any housing accommodations that we would need to provide for you, or just know about that you've received from them.
Awesome. And on the same note of face coverings, are there any particular requirements for a type of face covering, or will homemade cloth masks be acceptable?
Yeah, so really the only requirement is that it covers your nose and your mouth at the same time, and that portion of your face is covered. So that can be a homemade mask that you've made yourself. It can be a mask that you've purchased. It can be a bandana or any other kind of covering that, again, covers both your nose and your mouth, and that is secure. I think we're all kind of finding the different types that we prefer. So if you prefer a different type of face covering, we would encourage you to wear whatever is comfortable for you.
Awesome, thank you. Okay, and now we've got a couple of dining questions. Brianna, how will the grid and Joe's work for students that eat or buy from them regularly?
Hi. So they'll work much the same. Obviously, we're going to follow those social distancing practices. So again, just like in the hub, when you come in, you'll have designated floor signage that will mandate your social distancing, as well as, like we said before, we want to try to offer some new e-commerce offers that will be available for pre-order and pickup in the hub. But Joe's, Papa John's, all of our retail locations in the iSub are all going to work the same way. We're going to provide the same food. But again, we'll just be following all of those CDC mandated guidelines with social distancing and safety and health and wellness.
Awesome. Okay, and it looks like we're getting quite a few more questions about what move-in is going to look like, as well as will carts be allowed at move-in, that sort of thing. Jen, do you want to talk a little bit more in depth about what move-in will look like?
Yeah, absolutely. And I know that Nick, you yourself and I are working diligently on getting a move-in guide, which will be on our website, sent out via social media with a link, as well as emailed out to all of you very soon. It'll also give you that link for the time slots for move-in day, where you can sign up. So yeah, move-in day, or days, there are multiple days this year. So move-in days, you will definitely want to think about how you pack your belongings, because when you come to campus, like someone asked, volunteers will not be there to help you, move items from your car quickly and in large quantities and get them up to your room. You will be really doing that yourself this year. We will have a limited number of the large laundry looking black carts that you can use for move-in, but again, they're limited, so it just will depend on the timing of that, if one's available when you arrive to campus. So think about how you're packing and what you're bringing. Pack it in easy to move boxes. If you have rolling suitcases, or maybe your parents have one of those really cool little moving carts that has wheels and you can pull with the handle, bring that along. Anything that's collapsible and will fit in the car. So be thinking about that stuff when you're packing. But we will have carts. They will be available. We will not have the volunteers. We also want to welcome our families to come with our students, but keep in mind that every exposure is another possible exposure. So we are asking you to limit the folks that come with you, and to not have extra folks going into the halls. So I know there will be a relaxation station outside for parents. We're going to try to have some areas and things for them to do. But do keep in mind, move-in is really going to be the students this year for the most part. If you as a student need help, please let us know. If you have some any sort of accommodation needs, we're happy to help arrange that ahead of time and be there to help you to figure that out. But essentially, you'll arrive on campus. There'll be an unloading zone still. You can get your access and keys. Make sure you have your Vandal card. Those you now can get online ahead of time, and they'll mail them to you. So it's really important that you go out and get that Vandal card ordered. I believe you upload your own photo, which is kind of nice, because maybe you have a favorite photo that meets their requirements that you like better than the one they snap. So get that ordered, they'll mail it to you, bring it with you to campus. You do have to have that Vandal card to go through the check-in process, to get into your hall, to get into your room sometimes. You also need it in order to eat your meals. So I'll go ahead and just answer those basic questions, but all of it will be on our website. It will be in that move-in guide. We're gonna have a ton of answers to all of your questions you're asking. So if there's anything else specific, Nick, that I missed, please prompt me and I'll try to answer that tonight.
For those of you who will be using one of our carts to help move in, we will be sanitizing those in between each use to ensure that they are clean and sanitary for the next person. So, okay. Thank you, Jen. For our next question, Corey, I'm going to direct this one to you. It's going to be kind of a two-part question. The first part you touched on a little bit earlier, and Renee did as well. But will students be mandated to wear masks, and where will they have to wear them? And the second part of that is, how will housing work to protect students in the residence hall, since COVID will still be going strong?
The short answer is yes, you'll be having to wear a mask when you're inside. That includes the academic buildings and in housing. Now, that does not include your room and when you're visiting other residents, if they choose not to want masks in their room. that's up to them. But when you're coming and going from your room, masks will be required. Coming and going to class, studying in the library, whatever the case may be. I mean, again, those are things that we consider public areas that are inside. And so those will be areas where we all, including faculty and staff, will be wearing masks. When you're outdoors, even if you're going between buildings or between the housing and your class, you're outdoors, we request that you think about doing depending on your route, but again, it's not mandatory as it is inside. And then the second part, so as Dee Dee mentioned, we have quite the list with our facilities partners about what we are cleaning and the high touch areas, including the extra help that Dee Dee mentioned that'll be hired to do the high touch areas where again, the railings, the doorknobs, where the normal traffic touches a lot. And so those are kind of things that are happening as far as sanitizing and cleaning. We're also going to ask residents, so when you first get here, we traditionally have what we call floor meetings. This is where your resident assistant lives on each floor. They're a student staff member, so think of a peer mentor who helps guide folks through their experience and help them while they're here. Talk a little bit about floor expectations, and they'll talk a little bit about, as a community, how you want to address some of these issues. So for example, in the tower, you all have common bathrooms that you share. And so again, one of the conversations that we had is, creating some kind of a schedule based on your class schedule about when people are coming and going so that we're not all rushing at the same time. Whereas in Wallace, for example, or LCs, you share the bathroom with only a couple of your suite mates. Those conversations will be prompt to have with your suite mates about a cleaning schedule. And I have to say this, that, I've been doing this for a long time. We can't strongly stress enough that regardless if this was happening or not, you should be cleaning your bathroom. So it's just something that we will be prompting and guiding students through to have those conversations. And so any those students who are on this forum tonight who were with us before know that, we have resources available like roommate agreements and so forth. Those are things that can help talk, like a talking list, a checklist to talk with your roommates about setting up rules, how you want guests. And this is something that the student staff or the professional staff that live in as well can help you with, facilitate those conversations. So it's a combination of things that housing has done, as Dee Dee has mentioned, as well as encouraging and expecting the community and suite mates and roommates to have these conversations to set up their own ground rules as well. It's really important that you feel comfortable in your space, and having those conversations help you get there.
Awesome, thank you. Okay, and Jen, it looks like we got a couple of more move-in questions, so I'll circle back to you. Can you please talk about parking, and will people get ticketed if they're in the lots? Kind of, will you talk about our relationship with parking on those days? And then also, will you talk about if family members can help with move-in?
Yeah, absolutely. So I know I briefly mentioned we're asking you to limit, the amount of people coming to help you move in. And if a student's able to move into the room on their own and the parents kind of outside, great. We are not banning a family member from entering, the space to help you with move in. We're just highly recommending that you understand that it is every time that someone enters a building, it's one more person that has a possible exposure. So please wear your face coverings. If families are helping you move in, families wear face coverings when you're going in those buildings, just like your students are. Again, we're not banning it. This is new. Normally it's like, this is the best family day event of the year for us. But we are asking that you limit it, use good judgment. But we are not outright banning it at this point. We still know that you're going to need a little bit of help. Your family, it's important to them to be a part of this process with you. But don't bring, every sibling, every aunt, every uncle, and grandma and grandpa. Like, really think about who's coming with you, and maybe, protecting those higher risk populations and not having them to come to campus with you. So that's my thing on family members. You're still welcome. We would love to see you, but if you're going to enter the buildings, make sure you're using face coverings and good judgment when you're in there. Don't touch, all the door handles. They'll be props. The doors are propped on move-in day. Even more so this year. We're going to make sure they're props so you don't have to touch those door handles. Okay, so as far as parking goes, we do work very closely with Parking and Transportation Services for move-in days. For all of our move-in days, they will be having an attendant in the tower parking lot, which is our unloading zone. Typically in that lot, we give you a little permit and you get to stay there for 1 hour while you unload your car. Then we ask you to move your car to a lot that's just across the street so that others have the opportunity to use that for unloading closer to buildings. We do not typically see the university ticketing on move-in day, but you do need to follow, traffic signs and the attendance instructions. So I can't guarantee that if you park on a city street that the city won't be out monitoring that, but typically they're also working with us really closely, and they're not looking to ticket folks. They're just looking at safety. So be safe. Follow instructions. Your move-in guide will have a very detailed map in it, which will give you a good idea of where to drive to enter campus closest to your building, unload, and then get moved to a permanent spot.
Awesome, thank you. Okay, and now we've got a question for Brianna. What is the hub?
What is the hub? So the hub is going to be our resident dining location. So if you are a freshman on campus living in a residence hall, you're going to have a meal plan. So your meal plan gets you swipe access into the hub. So that is actually located on the ground floor of the Wallace Residence Hall. So if you live in Wallace, you have an easy life. You get to roll out of your pajamas and come right down for breakfast every morning. So yeah, that's what the hub is. So sorry I didn't clarify.
That's great. Thank you so much. Okay, so our next question, I'm gonna ask Renee, what are the kitchens going to be like, as well as the lounge areas in specifically the LLCs that was asked, but what about all of the other halls as well?
Yeah, so as we've mentioned several times, we're adhering to social distancing. So we are asking that folks limit the number of people who are using a kitchen at one time. For most of our kitchens, that's probably going to mean about 2 people at any given time using the kitchen. We will also have signs posted in a lot of our locations that tell you the different occupancy numbers that we have established based on the guidelines that we've been given as an institution. So you will be able to use the kitchens. Nick, you mentioned they were specifically asking about the LLCs. So for those of you in the LLCs who don't have a meal plan, you'll still have access to the stove and the sink and everything that's down there in the kitchens. As Corey mentioned at the very beginning, but some of you might have been jumping on later, we are asking that as normal, you clean up after yourself, but that we're all a little bit more diligent about making sure that spaces are clean. So if you are cooking in the kitchens, I would recommend maybe getting like a medium-sized plastic tub that you could put all your pots and pans and your sponge and soap and all of that in there, and you can easily take that back and forth from your room. Unfortunately, we won't be able to provide any of the cooking equipment that community assemblies maybe have provided in the past. Again, that's just for the health precautions at this time. So again, you will need to bring your own, you'll need to supply your own cleaning supplies. In addition, we will be reanalyzing the amount of furniture that are in the common spaces, and also due to the mask requirements that the institution has put in place, we ask that you cook your food in the kitchen and then go to your room to eat your food, or prepare yourself a picnic and go outside and eat while the weather is nice, so you're not consuming the food in the kitchen. I think that covers most of the kitchen stuff, but if you have other questions about the kitchen, please feel free to put it in the Q&A and we can address that as well. And then can you remind me what the second part of the question was?
How about lounges? And then another question also came through on laundry room usage.
Okay. Yeah, so as I mentioned, we are working with various folks across the university and then our partners in the community to determine the proper social distancing that we'll have. So if you're a returning student to the LLCs, you may notice that the amount of furniture in our common spaces is much less than what you may have seen in the past. And again, that's just to try and adhere to the social distancing as much as possible. But we are gonna try and provide some of those areas that maybe you wanna read a book or do some studying outside of your room. So some of those spaces will be available. Again, we're gonna have to kind of monitor things as they go. And so we may need to change the different accommodations that we're able to give in terms of lounges, but we will have that information available for you, and you'll be able to see what you can use and what you can't use. And then laundry rooms, I think, are gonna pretty much operate the same way that the kitchens do in the sense of limiting the number of people who are in the laundry room at any given time. So if you go down to do your laundry and there are already 2 people switching their clothes from the washer to the dryer, maybe waiting outside until one of them is finished and then entering. Again, just to adhere to the social distancing. For some of the laundry rooms, they're more spacious than others. So again, we'll have that signage up and around in the different locations so that you can see, oh, they're recommending only 2 people in this area. And then you know what that looks like for you.
And Renee, how will these changes be enforced or regulated?
Yeah, so the main one is that we're asking everybody to help each other out, right? We've learned through this process that started in March that we need to work together to provide safe environments for everybody. So that's the number one way that we're asking folks is to follow the guidelines that we're being asked as a university to adhere to. So the face coverings, the social distancing, those types of things. I think it's one of those things that if you see somebody who maybe took their mask off or isn't wearing one, to politely remind them that masks are required by the university in different buildings. And then also you can let your RA, academic peer mentor, your professional staff in your building know if you have more serious concerns.
Awesome, thank you so much. Okay, John, a question for you. Can you talk a little bit about transportation to and from the airport, maybe touch on smart transit?
Yeah, absolutely. Hi, everyone. I'm John. Yeah, so Smart Transit is our local local transport buses. It really caters to the students. It's free to students, and its regular routes take you throughout the city, through downtown. We'll drop you off if you want to go to Walmart, if you want to go to the malls, which is really near the university itself, as well as the downtown corridor, which is those great shops and boutiques and coffee places. So that is running. They are, of course, using their COVID-19 social distancing practices. That's on their website. They're on smarttransit.org. They are not the university officially, but they work so closely, hip and hip with each other. So they work really with the university to make sure everyone's on the schedule. Now that brings me to like holidays. And I know that some people were asking about the Pullman Moscow Airport, which is our local airport. There's really a lot of ways to get now. During the holidays, the buses do run to there, which is about only 5 miles out of town. And there is, however, a great need for the Spokane airport as well during the holidays. And there are buses to the Spokane airport. We also have transportation to various parts of the state of Idaho, as well as Washington. You can get a bus to Portland, you get a bus to Seattle, you can get a bus to Boise. all over. Really, it's designed to get kids home safely, what could be, difficult winter conditions. So that's usually planned. Now, for that often weekend where you might want to fly out, there's many options to go there or anywhere around in the Palouse. We have Zimcar, which is the enterprise version of Zipcar. It's called Zimride. And that's just like you'd expect it to be. You rent the car for a few hours and do your shopping or your gallivanting, if you will. And then there is also the van pool, which people with special needs or circumstances that arise, the van pool can definitely help with that. And I think that there is a really good opportunity. If worst comes to worst, we do have a really good taxi system here. And I want to mention that as you know, many of you know, we're only a few miles away from Washington State University, and there's a ride share program both universities have, and it's an online database where you say, hey, I'm going to, I don't know, Parma, and I need a ride. Is anyone going my direction? Or I'm going to Seattle. Does anyone need a ride? And they'll link up with either someone else at the University of Idaho or someone at Washington State University. And it's pretty neat. It's a rather new system, but it's really neat because you can then just say, hey, I'm looking for someone of this gender, of this age, this demographic or interest. And they'll let you match up so you feel comfortable with a ride. So that's a new program coming out, and that is really, really exciting. But yeah, you can get to the airport pretty easily. So hope that answered the question. Please ping me if there's any more questions.
Awesome. Thank you, John. Dee Dee, I've got a couple of questions for you now. Can you talk a little bit about the live-on requirement? Is the university going to be relaxing that, or are students still required to live on campus?
Yeah, if people are interested in pursuing an exemption for the live-on requirement, they can do that through the Office of the Dean of Students. And there's a exemption form to complete. And yes, I think the university this year is being more flexible with that live-on requirement. So if there was someone specifically out there looking for that potential to go through the process, I would highly recommend that they submit the form online, and it's reviewed by a committee. Jennifer's our representative for housing on that committee, and there's financial aid representatives, and the Office of Dean of Students has reps as well. So it's a multi-partnership for those reviews. So yes, the university VP Eccles, many of you know, Dean of Students Eccles is having the committee be a bit more flexible with those exemptions.
Okay, thank you. Another question for Brianna. For food plans that are swipes, will you talk a little bit about what a swipe is, and are they only available at the hub?
Sure. So for those of you who don't know, when you purchase your meal plan, you do have a couple of different options if you are living on campus. So they range anywhere from 19 meals a week all the way down to 10, 20 meals a semester. So those swipes, you will get one meal swipe per meal period that you can use in the hub. And then also something I haven't touched on is the implementation of dining dollars. And each meal plan does come with a set amount of dining dollars that can be used in conjunction as sort of like a meal swipe at any of our retail locations. So it doesn't deduct from the amount of regular swipes that you'd be able to use in the hub, which is our resident dining hall, but you would be able to use all of your declining balance dining dollars at retail locations if you wanted to switch it up one day. And then also at this time, the only place where you can use a specific dining swipe is at the hub, but we are hopefully working on some new innovative ways to allow you to be able to use your meal swipe at other locations. So more information on that forthcoming.
Awesome. And so another question on kind of your capacity that you're talking about in the hub. If the dining hall is at full capacity, can students take food back to their rooms, not grab and go or prepackaged options, but rather going through the dining hall to pick the food and then leave with it?
Sure, absolutely. So just to clarify, if you do go to the dining hall in hopes of simply grabbing a grab and go option that's already pre-packaged. You will have to enter the dining hall and use your swipe, as well as if you were just to dine in. So you'll be asked upon entrance if you'd like to dine in or if you'd like to carry out. And if you carry out, all of the options that are available on the dine-in end will also be available for takeout as well. So yes.
Thank you. Okay, and Corey, haven't heard from you in a while, so why don't I go ahead and ask you this question? Why do some of the buildings have kitchens while others don't? And kind of what is the purpose of the kitchens?
Yeah, so it depends on the community. So for like Wallace, traditionally we house the majority of first-year students. And like the Tower is actually a better example. Tower is all first-year students. So we don't really have a kitchen there because you have a dining plan. Where Wallace, the majority of the students are first years, but we do have some returners in one of our wings, which is Stevenson. And so we provide a kitchen because not every returner is required to have a meal plan. So this way they could take a meal plan that doesn't have as many dining dollars or swipes on it. And so they might supplement by cooking on their own as well. And so that's why we have a smaller kitchen for the complex there. Not to mention that if a first year wanted to make, cook just for, sometimes fun or the social aspect with a roommate or a friend. Now, where the living learning communities, those 8 houses, because again, those are primarily upperclassmen with the exception of Upham. Those students, again, are not required to have a meal plan. So again, we have a more robust kitchen for them to use. But again, we do have students who have meal plans, but not as many swipes. So they also supplement by cooking as well. And McConnell's in the same boat as well, because again, we have students who have a meal plan, but they may again have smaller meal plans, so they supplement by cooking. So it's really LLCs have the more robust kitchens because there's the higher percent of students without meal plans. And then you get all the way down to the Tower, which doesn't have a kitchen because again, everybody is on a meal plan. That being said, there's the abilities within your room as well. Microwaves are in there. And so we even did some sessions in the spring and some programming and how to cook in a microwave, several different dishes that we'll partner again with Vandals Dining to teach those students who are willing to learn how to cook with a microwave. So those are exciting things. But yeah, kitchens mostly are there to supplement a meal plan all the way up to our upperclassmen and the LCs to help them decide how they want to do their dietary needs.
Awesome.
Do you mind if I piggyback off that answer, if that's okay?
Yes, absolutely, Brianna.
Yeah. Also, just bringing up the use of our kitchens. Obviously, if you're not utilizing our highest meal plan, which gives you a meal swipe at all of our dining periods, and you are utilizing your kitchen, we are coming up with ways to implement kind of a grocery style online ordering pickup from our convenience stores on campus. And you would just pre-order through our website and then choose a time when you want to pick up those items. They'd be milk, cereal, things that you use on a day-to-day basis that you could keep either in your room or somewhere in the kitchen, and then utilize that as well to kind of compensate for maybe not having as many meals on your dining plan.
Awesome, thank you. And Corey, another couple of questions that were asked kind of regarding the kitchens. Are toasters allowed? It was one question. And then another question is does the Tower have kitchens? And if not, where can they wash their dishes that they might use?
So the Tower does not have a kitchen. There are on the floor in the community spaces, there are sinks to again, say you were doing something in the microwave, there's the ability to wash your plates and whatever dish you used in the microwave. So that is available. So that's the Tower. I'm sorry, what was the second part of the question?
Are toasters allowed as well?
So yeah, so let's just talk about appliances in general too, not just toasters. And so hot plates, anything you can plug in. And so if you go to our housing website, you can see our policies on this. basically what we're saying is if things don't have an automatic shut off, that includes like irons, right? I don't know if anybody still irons their clothes anymore, but if you did, right, those are things that if they were to be knocked over, if they were to be left on for a long period of time, they have an automatic shut off. If those items do not have an automatic shut off, then no, those are things that, you know, are regulations that we see nationally. It's important that we remain safe, you know, just like, and I'm going to throw this out there, and it wasn't asked, candles aren't allowed. That's a business standard. More fires happen in resident halls because of candles than anything else. So we're just trying to be as safe as possible. So if you have a question about an item, if it's allowed or not, because the different manufacturers and what they have, they're so specific, don't be afraid to reach out and ask us directly. The housing office usually refers those to Renee or myself, and we're more than willing to answer specific questions about items. But in general, if it has an automatic shutoff, you're going to be okay. It's really the ones that, and again, we've seen this happen where a toaster, it goes down. For a reason, the bread gets stuck, it doesn't pop up, it keeps cooking, and so it needs to have a shutoff.
Awesome, thank you. Okay, and I've got a question here for George. Will there be any changes in pricing or to how the meal plans look?
Yes, no, the meal plans have been set, so there are no changes to the meal plans or their prices. So they are as they are advertised.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, and another question for either Brianna or George. Will everything be offered via grab and go or just select entrees? Also, how will you ensure that dining is still convenient and fast for students when self-serve is being completely eliminated and the capacity is also being eliminated?
So to that question, we're doing everything we can within the social distancing, and that will slow things down a bit. But what we've done is we've segmented the dining hall so that we can expedite service, so that the amount of time that a person takes to determine their order and get their order, we're looking to expedite that significantly over what we had before. Again, if they come through and they want to select it and have it on a plate and eat it in the dining hall, that's great. They could also get it to go and eat it in the dining hall if they wanted, or they can grab it and leave the building with a to-go box. In the specific area that we have a grab and go, it will be limited to things that are prepackaged and ready to take and take back to your dorm room. So there will be a slight difference there, but you could also go through the dining hall and select all the items that are available and take those up to your room if you wanted to.
Awesome, thank you. And Corey, I've got some questions. There's several people that are wanting to know kind of about the Student Success Program. You know, how can they get some extra help? What's that gonna look like this year?
Yes, we will still be having those programs. We're very excited to help you with your academics. In fact, that's the reason you're here, right? Is to achieve that goal of yours to get those degrees. So it's really important that you know that, you know, because of what happened in the spring and what's happened, you know, nationally, we actually had it was a good opportunity to practice, and we've got it down where whether it's live tutoring to assist you, we can also Zoom. We've been able to do that the last few months and still provide those services for students who want to just log in real quick, ask an academic peer mentor some tutoring questions on a specific subject. So we'll have all those schedules ready for you when you arrive about when our academic peer mentors will be doing tutoring, what times and dates those sessions will be happening depending on the subject, as well as if you're in a learning living community that has a college partnership, engineering, for example, College of Natural Resources, honors, we have class, engineering, or education. All those programs will still be happening. We are working with those associate deans and faculty members and advisors of each of those colleges to continue to deliver those experiences for you that you would traditionally see. One of our biggest things, believe it or not, is Dinner with the Dean in Engineering. It's always been a great hit, and we still plan to deliver that one. And so you will still have full access to faculty and staff, and it includes the academic peer mentors, the tutoring. So we are still planning to do that. Now, Space is always going to be a challenge. The library will also have their guidelines about how to do spacing, just like we will to do social distancing. But that goes back to what I said that we learned in the spring, that we can deliver a lot of this via Zoom if needed. If we, at a certain time period becomes a peak, we can still help students. So again, your academics is our primary goal, and we're going to make sure that we're here to help you.
Thank you. And Dee Dee, I've got a couple of questions where they're asking about if vaccines become available or testing of students. I know that in one of the previous town halls, it was kind of touched on a little bit. Where would be a good place for them to go find those answers if they do have a question about testing or anything?
If we could get their information and get back to them in consultation with our IDRT team that's planning the responses to those questions, those I know are being worked on by university level administrators as we speak, in cooperation with our local healthcare group of Gritman and North Central Health District. So housing wouldn't be able to answer those questions regarding testing and such, but we can get the information from the students that are asking those questions or the family members, and we'll get a response and have one of our campus partners let them know where we are as a university in making those decisions and those plans.
Awesome, thank you. Okay, and I'm also getting a couple of questions on Vandal Welcome, if it's still happening and kind of what that'll look like. I know that they are still working on what any changes will look like. From what I've been told, they will be making kind of some announcements of what the schedule is going to be here in the coming weeks. So yes, it is still going to happen. And I'm also seeing some questions on U Idaho Bound. There is a U Idaho Bound that will be happening this Friday, as well as one in July. And I highly recommend that if you can attend, you attend. And if you are unable to, we have some 360 walkthroughs that are available online at uidaho.edu/housing that you can use. And if you have any specific questions regarding that, you are welcome to also email us. We are running out of time, unfortunately, in our conversations here. Jen, what is a good way, if they still have questions, that they can connect with housing and get their questions answered?
Oh, that is a great question. So the absolute quickest way is going to be to send us an email with your questions, housing@uidaho.edu. Multiple staff get that email out, get those emails, so we're able to respond in a much quicker fashion. We do have staff who is on site answering our housing phones on Tuesdays and Thursdays currently, as well as we will be available this Friday during U Idaho Bound. So you can also give us a call, 208-885-6571. Our website does have a great amount of resources. It has a frequently asked questions section. I think Nick's going to be frantically trying to get most of these questions up on there and answered so that this can help other students who have the same questions that you all have tonight. So
awesome. Thank you so much. Okay, Dee Dee, do you have any closing remarks for us before we sign off?
Just briefly, thank you so much for joining us tonight. I hope we were able to provide some clarity on all the questions and changes that will be part of campus living in fall 2020. We very much look forward to welcoming you into the Vandal family. Again, the commitment level that we have, you can hopefully tell by the team members that are on the call tonight and our campus partner in Vandal's Dining. We have been working in coordination for the entire spring semester and into the summer, and we really are trying to put everything in place so that we can support students that are coming back to campus. So we're just real happy that you joined us this evening, and we will get those questions answered that we weren't able to get to this evening. I apologize that we ran out of time. That was literally probably the fastest 60 minutes I think I've had on a Zoom call. So it was a lot of fun. Hopefully, again, we've relieved some of the families and the students out there. And again, just know that we care a great deal about you. And there's a whole lot of committed staff at this university that wants nothing but your success.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Once again, I'd like to thank everybody for joining us today, and would just like to end with Go Vandals.
Go Vandals.
Go Vandals.